Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first show of 2025. It is episode 105, and this week we've got Liam and Mark co-hosting as always. One more week of regular season football left. One tough result to take from the Falcons to discuss, and then we'll be looking ahead to the final game week. So, boys, it's been a little while since the game. Have you calmed down? Are you okay? Are you feeling wholesome again?
Wholesome is probably not the right word, especially after I stayed up on the night that I was due, before I was due back to work, thinking this is gonna put me in a good mood for the week.
No.
And like I think we said it for a couple of weeks, right? Like it was all in our hands.
Yeah.
We wanted to see some fight out of them. I wanted to see that they wanted it. And for the most part, you'd kind of be hard pushed to say that we didn't get that for most of the game. I think the roaring thing that still stands out to me is I'm still not kind of convinced on this defensive scheme. However, Jaden Daniels has cut up better defenses than us this season, and actually, I don't think that they did too badly in spells in that game. I think the one big thing that stands out for me is just the difference of having Penix in at QB1, and I haven't been on the show since number 9's been in, but guys, I'm pretty impressed. We sat him for X amount of the season. You know, the Kirk experiment was a one we all knew that was a little bit of a gamble after that injury. Unfortunately, that gamble hasn't paid off. So I think that was always, you could almost say Penix was a little bit of an insurance policy, I guess, right? And one that, at least in the grand scheme of things, we're not going to be paying heavily for. So, I'm kind of heartbroken that we're going into this last week, and that unfortunately we let that really big lead in the division slip away.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard not to be excited by seeing a QB that's done what he's done so far. He's made the right, like 95% of the time, he kind of feels like he makes the right decisions. He doesn't do anything stupid. The one INT that he had against the Commanders was a busted route, apparently. So how much of that you believe, I don't know. But I mean, he didn't make those mistakes again, which was, again, kind of good to see. So I don't know. I'm kind of heartbroken that it kind of looks like playoffs aren't happening, but
looking ahead.
Pretty optimistic.
Yeah, looking ahead. It's a bit of a strange set of scenarios, isn't it? Because
for sure,
we're getting the optimism late in the season when realistically our odds of progressing are slim, not impossible, but slim. However, the optimism is now for next season already, whereas typically that doesn't come until like draft time when you start to see the pieces fall together a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. And I think and don't get me wrong, right? I am forever the optimist, and I don't want to kind of get into that habit of being here every year once again going, yeah, but we've got next season to look forward to. I think that this team needs to learn and needs to change. And I guess there has to be some questions asked about the Kirk deal and what the next steps of that are. There needs to be some questions asked as to, can this defense get any better? Because if it can't under Jimmy Lake, then that conversation really needs to be had. But I don't know, man. Something about Penix just makes me feel a little bit differently. And I really, really hope that we've got our QB1 for the future, because actually, ironically, this QB draft class has done pretty well by all accounts, right? And
Yeah.
so yeah, I just if there's one position you want to be confident in, it's QB, and I'm getting more confident.
It's a nice start to the show. One I was not expecting, if I'm completely honest. So,
well, I'm trying to rise everybody up a little bit. No pun intended.
Well, you beat me to it there, because I was just going to say, Liam, bring us back down to earth. How are you feeling?
I mean, it's a frustrating position to be in, but I'm not that frustrated about that particular game, because we knew that game was a tough game on paper. We were going up against a very good Commanders team that beat many teams this season and were very good, and obviously had a quarterback that's just performed really well. So losing that game in the way that we lost it, we could have, there are a few things we could have done that maybe would have won us the game, but ultimately we can't put it down to that result, because we were the outsider in that game in general. We were on the road and everything, so it was always going to be tough, and we just come up short. But we were very, very competitive for most of that game. The disappointing thing still just the rest of the season. That we shouldn't have been in a position where we needed to win that game. Really, that's the key point. We should have been sort of wrapped up this division by now, or at least going into needed maybe one more win at some point. But we shouldn't have needed to have to win 2 games right at the end of the season. With the Bucs have obviously done well-ish, like maybe slightly better than people anticipated, but they haven't been amazing. No. They haven't gone and blasted the division. We were still in a very strong position with the fixtures that we had. We just lost some games that we just could not afford to lose, and ultimately they come back to bite you later in the season when you have to win. We had one tough game, one easier game, and Bucs had 2 easier games, and that's the way the schedule went. They've done their job early in the season by beating one more good team than we have. And that's what it'll come down to, won't it?
Yeah. And I think that's the hard pill to swallow, really. Losing against the Commanders isn't that big of a deal.
No.
It's just the implications that it's had on our season as a whole. Losing into a 10-5 team at the time isn't the end of the world by any account, especially when we're very much in a development phase. But the fact that we're in a position where that game had to mean something is the kick in the teeth, really. But I wasn't, similar to Mark, I wasn't massively disappointed, though. In terms of the actual performance, I didn't think we were horrendous.
No.
And I think the one thing that really kind of pips it for me is if Younghoe Koo is healthy, we win that game.
Yeah, he probably makes that kick.
Probably.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
he's got the distance in the tank, hasn't he? So
I normally would have said so, but he hadn't exactly been shining. But maybe the injury affected him earlier than we thought. So
for sure.
He certainly had the leg. He had the leg to make that kick. Obviously, he's had some accuracy issues this season, but I actually still think I'll be a little bit more confident about him making it from 50 odd than I would be from 40 odd at the moment. He just seemed to. Yeah. He seems to struggle with the closer kicks this season, and then some of the bigger ones when we needed him, he did make. But to be fair to Riley, that's a big, massive pressure kick. It is a long kick for a lot of kickers in this league. Obviously, some of the kickers nowadays can kick that for fun, but in the not too distant past, that was a very long kick for 90% of kickers in the league. His accuracy was spot on. He just fell short. So and he's obviously not been tried and tested all season. Maybe if he was playing constantly all season, maybe a bit more stronger position to kick that. But we should have been closer in the first place for him. We had an opportunity to be closer. That was the frustrating part of that drive. Not really going to be too disappointed on what he did. I think he's only so far a man can kick it. He can kick it a damn lot further than I could. So we could have been there, but we should have beat. There's 2 more games this season that we should have won. At least 2 more games, and they would have been the ones that would have changed our season.
Well, that was going to lead me on to my next talking point anyway, of the time management at the back end of that game that ultimately resulted in that kick being taken from that distance, if you want to put it that way. I'm not going to give my take on it, but I am curious to know where you two stand in that, in terms of, is it hindsight's a beautiful thing? And of course, it's easy to say now, oh, we should have taken the timeouts, or was that just poor clock management? Yeah. And should we have used the timeouts that are available to us?
I think we should have. Personally, I think we should have used them. I would say, and I don't know if you guys agree, and certainly this in the NFL and in college football as well, this is very recognisable. Time management, I think, is getting worse across the board. I think coaches are getting so clever with it now, like intentionally trying to be extra clever, like saving timeouts here and there and trying to do all these sort of like clock management things, that they're just naffing it up all the time. It happens in college all of the time. You just end up with like 20 seconds running off the ball where they didn't need to, and one sort of like sack, whatever, and it changes the whole drive. And they're just trying to be too smart with it, when sometimes you've just got to take your time out, reset, and work with it. And that cost us. I think we fell into that trap of trying to be a little bit too smart with our timeouts, and trying to save one where we just didn't need to save one. And sometimes you've just got to be a bit more old school and just call that timeout and get yourself into a position where you've got the chance to call a proper play. Because when you're trying to drive downfield, you've got a rookie quarterback trying to run, really quick turbo fast plays. It's not that easy. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. Like, it's hard to do good plays when you've got full play calls, never mind on the fly. So I think we could have gained 10 more yards by being smarter with that clock. I've got no doubt about it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really easy to judge calls after the event. And the reason I say it is because, when you're in that space where you're calling a play, or you've got a specific kind of something in mind, and the adrenaline's pumping, and crowd's noisy, and you've got faith in what you're trying to do. Sometimes kind of common sense and reasoning go out the door a little bit. I'm not going to say that I don't like it, because I fully agree with Liam. I think it was a very silly thing to do. But hindsight is 2020, right? So, I think Liam's absolutely right. It happens in college all the time. And I am very much a fan of, look, just keep it old school. But listen, again, we've said this a few times this season. I can forgive a mistake from a first year, well, full first year head coach.
Yeah.
But I'll forgive it this time. But stop. Just stop.
Yeah.
Learn the lesson, my guy. I think it's tough, right? Especially with how is obvious how much Raheem believes in his players and tries to instill that belief in what they're doing. But yeah, Liam's right. If we'd been smarter, we probably could have got closer.
Yeah.
Do you think a lot of head coaches would have done the same thing as Raheem at the moment? I don't think he would have been alone in that type of decision. I don't think I think that would have been something that a lot of coaches would have tried to do and considered doing. I don't think he was I think he's just in a similar position where this sort of like clock management trend is going, where you're trying to be smarter than you need to be.
Mm-hmm. On the flip side of this, and you can dispute whether it's down to coaching or not, up until the Falcons' week 12 bye, we had 10 sacks in 11 games, which was the last in the NFL. Since week 13, when we came back into action, we have 21 sacks, which is the most in the league. What's the where does the change come from? Is Mr. Lake doing his thing, or is there I don't know where you see him?
Well, I mean, for me, it's not one player.
No.
So, I've seen more from Arnold Ebiketie in the past couple of days, in the past couple of games, than I've seen since we drafted him. So there is 100% been a step change. Now, I've broken down enough film to go, this is what they're doing differently. You get more sacks by generating more pressure. And I think one of the things I noticed against the Commanders, which I loved, was they were really mixing up who they were sending into a 4 or 5 man front. So what you were seeing quite a lot was you might have an extra man in Ellis, and then one of the ends would drop into coverage. So you'd still have a 4 man front, but what they were constantly doing, which I loved, was just doing things a little bit differently to keep the offensive line guessing. And listen, you kind of have to give flowers where they're due. That side of things has been a lot better, and you can see it by the amount of points that are being scored against us. We're not getting, I mean, probably since the Broncos game in recent memory, but we haven't been absolutely dicked on.
No.
Do you know what I mean? And that's that's great. That's what making adjustments is about, right? And I don't have any. Of course, I love seeing sacks. Do you know what I mean? But it's almost a frustrating thing about Jimmy Lake's defense, right? It's like you fix something, but then you let something like a scramble or an up the middle run do you for 8 or 9 yards every play, and it's like how can we how can we just find some consistency across the board? And that's that again, that's the challenge, that's the critique for me going forward on that defense.
Well, I think that's the thing, isn't it? So going from bottom in sacks to first in sacks from week 13 to week now, so the last 4 or 5 games or whatever, is incredible. But I'd much rather us be consistently in the top 12 across all metrics instead of going up, down so drastically, because, like you said, there's just no, okay, Mint, you're getting sacks, yeah, but we're also giving up 8 yards per run, 9 yards per run, 8 yards per run. So where's it doesn't benefit that much.
And I think that's what the frustrating thing was, is that when they ran the ball against us, it was for like 7-8 yards a play. And it was all up the middle.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Maybe, and I'm going to sound almost, what's the word I'm looking for? Almost blasphemous when I say this. But is it time we just get a big, old, heavy set, proper nose tackle in the middle of that defensive line? And I'm not saying that, this is we should be calling to drop Grady Jarrett, but guys, like, it was every time, and it was always up the middle, and you're like, come on, like, let's go old school. Just go get a big, dirty, honking run stuffer and just stick him in the middle, like, because we can't. I mean, we're never going to stop any team if that's how they run on us.
No, of course.
Sacks are great, but I'd like to. I would still rather last in the NFL for sacks and go to the playoffs.
Yeah, damn right. Anything to add on that, Liam? My next question is for you either way.
No, I mean, I think we've got. I think I think Rook could play a little bit of a role of that nose tackle when he gets a bit more comfortable with his game. He's a unit of a lad. So he could hold it down a little bit. He's not been playing that many snaps, to be honest, so it's hard to say what he can do.
Snaps he has been playing, though.
He's looked all right, I think.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, Eddie Cates has been a big change in terms of our sacks. Like, for some reason, he's decided he knows how to rush a quarterback now all of a sudden. And I think we've seen a little bit more from Rook in terms of like numbers of snaps, and a little bit more from Bertrand as well in terms of the snaps that he's been playing in the second half of the season.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably added to our rotational core a little bit. Obviously, that's two rookies who are generally you would expect them to get better as the season goes on and get involved with whatever more, and that can change your sort of like your way your defensive line works. The fresher, and you've got a few more options, and you've got a few more concerns for the O lines. That opens up lanes for other guys, and the way we sort of drop Caden Ellis into coverage, or sometimes blitz him, and just create confusion. That's the hardest thing for an O lineman. If they know who they're going up against and who's blitzing or who's going to be the ones who pressuring, that yes, it's still a physical battle. It's hard, but that half the battle's already there. You know who you're facing, sort of thing. You know who you're covering. If you're generating different pressures from different angles, you can get to a point where an O lineman's blocking nobody because he doesn't know where to go. So, and I think we've done a little bit more of that. We've been a little bit smarter with it. So, that's a bit of a props to Jimmy with our scheme. But we're still soft in a lot of other areas. We still allow too many short. Like there was a Commanders drive in that game, which I'm pretty sure went on for about 25 minutes. Like we just couldn't we could stop them moving the ball. Like every single third down they converted until I'm pretty sure they got a touchdown on it in the end. But it was like just so slow and methodical that it was like it got to 3rd and 6, and I was like, yeah, we'll convert it.
Yeah.
And I would say the commentators are saying like the one thing you have to watch out for here is Jaden Daniels' legs. Like he's gonna run the ball. Like if he doesn't see a pass straight away, he's going to run the ball. Like the whole stadium knows it. And could we stop him?
No.
Nope.
Not once.
No. But in our defence, again, we're not the only team.
Not many teams have.
It's hard, but it is hard. But we just didn't even seem to have the right scheme set up to stop him sometimes. That was the annoying thing. Like it's not like he beat a man like consistently, and he just got around us because of pure skill. Sometimes we were absolutely nowhere near him. It's like we're even watching him. Like but it's a difficult thing to do. Like it's not easy, but that's what beat us. His 127 yards, whatever it was, with his legs is what ultimately beat us.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was. Just to sidestep a little bit away from that game, but still in a more positive light, we have 2 Pro Bowlers in our ranks.
Yeah. You could have asked me, and I probably would have named 40 players before I got to it.
Yeah, it's a strange one. So of course, Chris Lindstrom, fair enough. Like that's our rock. I completely understand that. And then Mr. Hodge on the special teams. We have discussed him numerous times and said he's been a very steady player. He's done his little bits here and there. And I'm obviously buzzing. We're Falcons fans, but Pro Bowl is bonkers. Like he wouldn't have been.
Yeah, I mean, there has been times where he's cropped up, and I think, Pro Bowl's great. Special teamer in the Pro Bowl. I mean, again, sure. It's great for him to get that nod, because I think when you're a player that plays in the position that he sort of naturally plays in, and because he didn't get that walk-off touchdown because he was playing special teams.
No. Yeah, so, he got that playing in the offense. He got that
exactly.
Yeah.
So I think I like the reward for him. It still feels odd, but sure. I think Bijan not making it is
blasphemous. We'll use the word again.
Is just bananas. And to be honest with you, I heavily expect that he will make it once the playoffs kind of get underway. And yeah, I mean, apart from that, is there anyone that hugely sticks out? Maybe Drake.
See, I was leaning towards maybe Bates a little bit. I know he's been on and off the boil a little bit, but I think as far as he goes, he's been one of the better in the league. And statistically, if we're talking, I hate saying it because I say it all the time, but statistically speaking, he's one of the best performing in the NFL.
Oh, sure. Sure. Got plenty of picks this year.
Like, should do it. Yeah.
and sometimes you have to go, look, are they trying to bring some more of the young ones? So, I mean, listen, the Pro Bowl it's nowhere near as glitzy or as important as it used to be. And let's face it, lads, nobody really watches it. So just kind of feels like a bit of pageantry now to me, the Pro Bowl, if I'm honest.
Popularity.
Yeah. So I'm kind of, a bit gutted that Bates and Drake and Bijan on kind of in the conversation. But then at the same time, I don't want to risk any of them getting injured for next season. So let's just keep the Pro Bowl players down to a minimum, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah. Liam, have you got any shouts just for the alternates that we do have? We did get Robinson, Bates, Ellis, Koo, Judon, Dalman, AJ, and Grady Jarrett, which is a very random selection again.
That is a very random selection. I mean, yeah. I mean, I can always see that Hodge is in there because he, against Vegas, he blocked both. He did both of the blocks on the punt.
Yes, he did. Yeah.
I'm guessing that's what gets you in a Pro Bowl. I don't really know what the criteria is, but that kind of stuff must go towards it if you're good at blocking punts and things. I think Bijan's
don't say that sentence too quickly.
What?
I heard it as well. Don't worry, Liam. Don't repeat it. It's fine.
Well, I can't promise the what.
I thought you said something that sounds like blocking punts.
Oh no, that's Lindstrom's. That's Lindstrom's job. But yeah, he did all right, and then I think Bijan could have been there for me, and Ellis and Bates are probably two others that you would say, would have been very good shouts. I can't believe I can't believe Koo's on the list because I'd say he probably had his. I don't know what his percentages are, but it must be one of his worst. Dolman he's been okay and pretty much missed half of it when he decided to go to Narnia wherever he went for a while because he disappeared for a long time. I don't think you can be a Pro Bowler when you only turn up part time. But other than that, I don't think we've got an obvious candidate.
No.
We've had a few good performances here and there, but nobody consistent enough that I would be saying other than Bijan and possibly London.
Yeah.
Maybe Pitts.
Yeah, something like that.
I'll tell you something though. I would have got to Hodge before I got to Pitts this season. So
I would have done. I'd have got to Casey Washington.
I think Brandon Dawless was ahead of Pitts.
I had to throw that. I had to throw that in the middle. Just comparatively for our division, the Bucks got 2, Panthers got 1. I think I'm sure I read that, and the Saints got 0. So, which leads us perfectly onto this.
That's horrendous, isn't it? That is truly horrendous to see a Panther in the Pro Bowl but not one Saint. That is.
Yeah. Let me just. I'm nearly certain I read it and I had the. Yeah, Panthers got one. Who was it? Jace Horn. Fair enough. Fair enough.
Oh yeah, you're pretty good.
Yeah,
Actually,
no, that's that makes sense. That makes sense. I should have fact checked that before I actually just said it to the public.
That man should make the Pro Bowl just for not retiring.
Yeah. I'm trying to think who the Bucks might have got. I've not looked. I don't really pay a lot of attention to who the Bucks.
It wasn't Mayfield. I know that for a fact. So
he would have been a great shout for them. To be fair, he's been awesome.
Yeah,
and Evans has been very good as well. I don't know who.
I will check right now.
Evans or Vea, maybe.
Yeah, them two would like be the obvious one. I can't think of who else.
Bucky Brooks, maybe.
Oh yeah,
that's a decent season.
Tristan Wirfs.
Right, Wirfs. Yeah.
And then you got that one right.
Yeah. Wirfs is one of the best in the league, so I can kind of
that. Their alternates, not that it matters, but their alternates were Mayfield, David, Evans, and McLaughlin. Stunning. Anyway,
Arthur Baker.
Yeah. Get out of here.
It is.
Get out of here. Right. Time for the serious talk. What we're actually all interested in. The final regular season game of this year. We, of course, face the Panthers, and the Buccaneers, of course, face the New Orleans Saints. We are required to win, and we need the Bucs to lose, or, well, there's no or. That's it. That's all of it.
Well, there is technically if we won and they drew.
I mean, right? Yeah, fair enough. And if that happened, that'd actually be better because the stress that would be put onto both teams in that overtime just burning out would be sensational. But we'd probably have to feel it as well because we'd be watching it by that point.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think I speak for for most staying people here, and you know how optimistic I am.
Yeah.
The Saints are awful. They are injury-ridden.
Yeah.
And even if they were at full strength, you know as well as I do, they ain't going to do us any favors. Like out of our division, they hate us the most. We hate them the most.
And that's just how it is.
And if we were in this position, would we be screaming for us? Come on.
I'd be saying roll over.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And listen, they've been rolling over all season. Spencer Rattler is who we thought he was. And no Kamara, no Derek Carr. They traded their only half decent cornerback. Like,
yeah,
there's and listen, I'm a big believer in any given Sunday, a big believer in it. But for me, guys, I'm sorry, I'm not even entertaining the idea. I just don't think it can happen. The Bucs are going to be hungry for it. Saints aren't hungry for anything. I do think we beat the Panthers, of course. I don't think that's. I actually have no doubt about that. But the kicker here continuously lies on the Bucs and Saints, and I just can't see another outcome.
Yeah, Liam, which way are you leaning? Other than probably that.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see. I mean, the Panthers and stuff have improved, but I think we'll beat those. Like, it'd still be a travesty if we didn't beat them. But
yeah,
I don't see how that Saints team in particular can get their game up when in a dead season against a team that, yes, they want to beat, but don't really want to beat for other reasons. With a lot of backups, essentially, with a quarterback who's just running around everywhere, throwing balls wherever he wants. With like one recognisable wide receiver, quarterbacks I've never ever heard of. I just can't see how that roster and that team can pull it out of the bag when Baker Mayfield's slinging it everywhere. They've got 2 good running backs. They've got a very good O-line most of the time. They've got wide receivers. Stu Cotton, their tight ends, probably will be back to that game. Surely, there's no way that they can bottle it. The only way they can bottle it is if Kamara can get back and have an unbelievable game, like an absolute magical game, basically on his own. And the Bucks just freeze,
capitulate.
That's the only way. The only way.
Well, that is our hope and potential saving grace. Kamara has said in the interviews himself that he only needs 50 more yards to get another record and to tap off.
He might get 50 and come off.
And then Carr is in a similar scenario where he's not completely out of the game, but realistically, even if he came back now, he's going to be a broken man anyway, isn't he? So he's not going to be back and firing. Stunning. I think that there's always potential for the most Falcons thing ever, and that's for the Saints to beat the Bucks and us to lose to the Panthers.
Oh God, that'd be it for me.
And I think that would absolutely destroy everything that we've ever known, believed in, and loved, because it would be so typical of Falcon.
Well, we won more than 7 games this year.
We did. This is the most wins I've ever seen. I'm really happy about that.
Really scraped about
that. And if we win this one, then I'll have my first ever positive record, which is
and actually, it's small wins, right? But you kind of do have to almost take a little step back and go, well, we wanted progression. We wanted a bit more than this, but it's still progression, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not happy clapping, because I'm more annoyed about that Kirk Cousins capitulation mid-season than anybody. But I think you do have to take a moment to just go, well, look, we know none of this is ideal, but it's better.
Yeah.
I'm really scraping about it.
No, you really are. You really are. It's still true, though. It is better. I mean, even if you stop now, it's still technically better than what we've had for the last 5-6 years.
Oh, for sure.
Not that justifies the absolute self-destruction that occurred mid-season.
For me, it was I don't know what you guys think in terms of the turning points, or whatever you want to call it, but it was the loss to the Saints was obviously looks even worse now than ever. And the Seahawks as well. Obviously, we were there to witness that, which is even worse. But the Seahawks are not a good football team, and we got absolutely blasted by them, basically. And the Seahawks are other than us and the Broncos, I think they beat either the first game of the season or whatever it was, the second game of the season. I know they're a 9-7 team, and 9-7 so it looks decent on paper, but every other team that they beat are utter trash. The worst teams in the league is what they kind of beat. That was a game that we should have won. Saints is a game we should have won, and that would have been. I can sort of forgive Broncos and Chargers and games like that, which were tough games. We got the manner which you lost. Certainly the Broncos were terrible, but on paper, they were games that were 50-50 or whatever you want to call it. We could have won, but a loss wasn't exactly a travesty. But losing to
and
the
I think the almost the bigger travesty for me is if we played like we played against the Commanders, against the Broncos, Seahawks, Saints,
yeah,
then we would have beat all three of them.
yeah,
And
I think so.
yeah.
I
It's
said
even
I
worse
said
because
it.
you didn't need to win all three. Just one of
No,
those games.
I know. And I said at the beginning of the show about the Kirk Cousins experiment. And I've decided that I'm going to stop buying my favorite players' jerseys.
Please,
Time.
please.
Because I went to put a jersey on before I started the show. And I flicked through my recent jerseys. And Bijan is the only one that hasn't turned out to be an utter pervert.
For Bijan's
through-
sake, please take it to a charity shop and
I
get rid of
flicked-
it. Not in your possession.
I've flicked through since we changed uniforms, Calvin Ridley,
Oh dear.
Desmond Ridder,
Oh dear.
Pitt.
Nah.
Actually, what I need to do is I need to start buying the white jerseys for everybody, because my
Those won't work.
my white jerseys are Bijan and Cordarrelle Patterson.
Okay, yeah, you can have Patterson without a doubt.
So, yeah, I think that has to be the winning formula. But yeah, you know, sorry, I digressed there rather massively. But the Kirk Cousins experiment was, I think the most disappointing thing about it was Kirk was meant to be the insurance policy. You know, like Kirk was meant to be, you know, we've got this kind of old, experienced guy who's got a, you know, great arm. And I think he showed he's still got a great arm.
Yeah.
But what that capitulation showed is not only could he not seem to shake the mental part of being on a losing streak, but that his mobility is just not there anymore. So I think the most disappointing part of it is that you wouldn't even be able to warrant keeping them in as a backup. Like, we've got to take the hit on him this year, which is so frustrating. And I hope that he takes a bit of mercy on us, and finds a suitor somewhere.
Yeah.
And there will be suitors, right?
Oh, 100%.
Like let's not get it twisted. This year's quarterback class is stinking.
Yeah.
So I'm very, very confident that we'll be able to find somewhere for him, somebody who's desperate enough for a guy who can't move. And you know, all the power to him, because his agent is, you know, possibly one of the biggest magicians in professional sport. It leads me to ask two questions going into this week and beyond. So my first question to you both is Kyle Pitts.
Go on, Liam.
Fifth-year option? No, just cut.
I'm done with him.
Okay, Danny.
Also, no. I think for what you're going to end up paying him, I think you're literally more likely to get better production out of what I'd call like a steady Eddie, just a mid-level tight end that's probably a little bit better at blocking as well. And so they've got that asset that would be able to utilize. I really don't think you need to go out and get someone extravagant to be able to replicate what we've got from him, and potentially benefit even more so, like I said, with the blocking side of the position. So
yeah, for sure.
He's not got he's just not got the right sort of like tight end mentality for me. Like tight ends, like the tough, the absolute grafters, aren't they? Like they block when they need to block, and they run them short routes and take a lot of hits, and the physical go up and get it dominant guys. That's the whole point. Is they're a sort of aggression, and he just seems half-assed and soft and in and out of the game mentally sometimes. And I think he has lots of ability. Like, I know he has lots of ability, but if you've just not got the attitude to apply it consistently, I just think tight end's a position where you can pick up productive guys, either currently in the league or even sort of like in good rounds of the draft, that
for sure
are just far more worth it than maybe what Pitts would demand money-wise.
Okay. So my next question: how many years were given Terry?
Well, you've stole one off me here because that's in the comments.
Okay.
But no, we'll use that. So there is.
I can't see the comments, by the way. Just so
yeah. He's not an admin today. He's not got the power.
No. Well, it's the only way that I can guarantee that my internet doesn't go up and down. So
there we go. But yeah, boom. Does Arthur get rid of Terry? We'll use this from you, Mark. I think he gets one more year because I think he's bought himself an extra year by securing Penix. Should he have gone for Cousins and then just got a random vet or a random low pick quarterback, I think he'd be gone. But it's almost like he can be like, okay. Yeah, didn't work out for Cousins, but look what I have produced us with. And kind of, I know Penix isn't a done deal and everything like that, but I think that is literally his safety net. He's been able to go, yes, I wasted all this money, but I was smart enough to secure our franchise quarterback in the same window. So what are you going to do about that? And that's my vision at the moment.
Yeah, I think it'd be, that could obviously help him a lot. And some of the picks they've made have been decent in some areas, but
some haven't.
Yeah, some haven't. No, I think it's a tough angle for him to take, is to say, I took Penix, and it's working. If it works out, it worked. Like if he just took a short-term veteran quarterback with a much less risk, if we wanted to put him early or whatever, that would have been obviously the much smarter option now. Like we didn't take a vet who was a stopgap. We took a big commitment, like for a guy who was going to be there at least for 2 years, potentially 3. Like if we took a Sam Darnold or like 10 million or whatever, 50 million, whatever he's warranting,
for sure,
it was great because he could have been really good or he could have been bad, and it wouldn't really matter because we could have bought the rookie in. If it had been good, we still wouldn't have been long-term committed to him anyway because we'd have had 2 years. It'd been cheap. We could have moved to the rookie anyway. But there's no way that he can sort of say, I took Penix thinking that, this might happen. You can't come out and say it because he's paid 480 million with a difficult contract, and he fully believed in Cousins, and that I'm saying that was a terrible decision. Like Cousins, was at least a good quarterback, but he's not a modern day quarterback, and he's older now. He's coming off a bad injury. He just doesn't represent the modern day league, and I think that's where he fell down. He went for a quarterback that just was always going to sort of struggle to give us some kind of like dynamic offense. He's a very much an old school pocket passer. He's, like I was saying on last week's pod, he is pretty much near enough, apart from maybe like Aaron Rodgers or whatever, but he's obviously older now. He's the last of these pocket passers. Like there's none of them left in the league anymore.
Yeah,
and we decided to pay one a lot of money for 4 years. So
I think I agree. I think I guess I don't think there would have been many people throughout the league that would have. I mean, whoever he went with, because he would have gone with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would have got equally as fleeced on a similar deal because that was his price. And I think that most people would have gone, well, at least you know what you're going to get. And I think on the face of it, you do kind of know what you're going to get. I think what we didn't anticipate, which was maybe naive on everyone's part, really. And I think some people said at the time is he going to be the same player after that injury? And at first, you kind of went, well, we sort of schemed around it. But as it went on, it became very, very apparent that I talked earlier in the season about that thing that I stole from Aaron Freeman, where it was like the Kirk Cousins chaos meter. And it was almost as if he could never sit in the middle.
Yeah.
He was either at one end of the spectrum or completely at the other. There was no middle ground. And I don't know. I'm kind of, to be honest with you, I'm kind of less mad at Terry for the Cousins deal than I am about, things like Brandon Dawless, that I am about, just some of the picks that he's made over the past few years. I kind of go, what?
Why?
You almost walked into the reason that you had to trade a 3rd-round pick for Matthew Judon.
Yeah.
And again, I know we were kind of hoping to see Braylon Trice this year and stuff like that, but again, I'm just like, I don't know, that there's so much to like about him. When I say him, I mean Terry. But I can't help but think you can't stop just dropping the odd clanger. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you could start having a draft where your first 4 picks make it into the team, that would be great. I'm not sure we've had a season since Terry took over where those first 4 picks have become starters. Like, I'm not sure we've ever seen it. Right. So, I agree with you, Danny. I think he probably has got one more year. I think he gets more if we make the playoffs next year.
I'd agree with that. I think if you then start having winning / successful seasons, I think it buys you time, even if it's still not perfect execution, because that is the nature of a successful franchise. They won't want to rip it up too much. Blank's not necessarily known for it anyway, as we've seen previously with Mr. Dimitrov. My head just went head just went completely west there, because he had a similar foundation. Yeah, there's some good picks in there when you look over the course of the years, but did we ever have like a really, really, really good set of picks where everybody was pretty steady? Maybe 2016. I think I saw a little
for one season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There we go. Exactly.
So I think I don't think Terry's in immediate danger, but need a strong draft this year. Need it.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I was going to say about the Cousins deal. I think that the deal itself wasn't like the issue. I don't think we could have got Cousins for a cheaper, shorter deal. That just wasn't an option. Like, what we agreed with him is what we kind of had to agree with him. It's whether or not we should have gone a different route with a different player, maybe in the first place. It's probably what.
As I said, everybody was taking a gamble on him because of that injury. Everybody, and I'm not emotional about the fact that we just went. We need a QB who's got some caliber, and that, in our view, even with the view of taking Penix and letting Penix sit for a year, 2 years, even with that, you would have still hoped that he would have been competent enough to get us through into a playoff season. Like I say, my head always kind of keeps coming back in the circle of, the gamble didn't pay off, because as soon as he started on that losing streak, there was, like I said, when he made hard work of the Raiders, that's when I was like, bro,
Oh dear, yeah,
this is awful.
yeah,
Like awful.
Well, me and Liam had this chat last week about the timing of it. So, of course, they let him get that win back, but the 4 losses before it. And we were trying to justify from a coach's perspective when is the appropriate time to drop someone of that caliber. Because after 1 loss, you definitely don't, because what would be the reason after 1 loss? After 2 losses, loads of teams lose 2 games on the bounce in a season. So, again, I don't even think you're debating it at that point. After 3, you then start to think, oh, this is a little bit messy. So I don't think the timing of dropping him is actually wrong. I think it's natural. I don't think there was a
Yeah.
if he destroyed the Raiders, I don't think it would have been enough. I feel like that last one was almost like a sympathy win, like get a victory back on the cards and off you pop.
See, I'm not so sure, and the reason I'm not so sure is I can't remember who it was that I was listening to, but somebody had said that there was a conversation in the building, and I know we'd seen reports and stuff like that like Falcons players were saying that Penix was the best QB in the building, but I can't remember who it was now for the life of me, but apparently there was some sort of conversation around just Kirk just not being able to move, like they were asking him to, and they were. It kind of almost feels like that Raiders game was almost like the straw that brought the camel's back, because it's kind of like if you are making such a hard work here of arguably one of the bottom 3 or 4 teams in the league, like we can't put you back on that field because actually you're becoming now more of a hindrance to the team than a help. So I see what you mean. But I'm probably not on the same page there with you. I genuinely think that Raiders result and how ridiculously close we came to losing it was almost like, Kirk, sorry, bro, but
get out.
we can't risk playing you anymore. Which for a veteran like him must have been really difficult. And I think one of the things that I will kind of stick my hand up for him is he obviously still continued to support Penix. He led the prayer and stuff before the game, and for somebody like Kirk with his kind of I don't necessarily think he's got an ego. He probably does. And
but the natural ego that you develop being a QB1 for the best part of 20 years, it's only natural,
being dropped
isn't it?
mid-season as well. Like, that's the hand on the shoulder going,
it's time.
You've had a great career.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to float that question about Terry because I'm still sort of in the middle with it, and I know us Falcons fans love overreacting to things.
Oh, absolutely. That's actually all I've got, really, unless anyone's got any nice little finishes.
Who was the guy that made that utterly stupid penalty when they were on like 3rd and 25 against the Commanders? Malone, yeah. I would just like to send my deepest, worst wishes, and I hope that you stub your toe on your coffee table every day for at least the next couple of months until I'm not as salty about it, because that to me in the second half was, if we got them off the field there, again, different game.
And
obviously I don't wish him the worst. I'm just being I'm just being stupid. But that to me again kind of felt like one of those kind of really game-changing, sort of critical mistakes. And that's and if we drag it back and we think about what we watched last week and a way forward for this franchise, came down to one defensive mistake and one rookie kick.
Yeah,
that
wasn't even drastically wrong. It was just too short.
Versus where we were a couple of weeks ago, where we had to rely on 2 blocked punts to beat somebody to beat a team
a pro bowler.
Yes, indeed. Against a team that have got like the 4th pick or whatever it is in the draft now. It's tough to swallow, but I think we've seen more fight out of them in the past couple of games. And that to me is something that we can take a little bit of comfort from. So whatever happens on Sunday happens.
Yeah.
My advice to anybody listening is, please, I beg you, don't get your hopes up. But if it does happen, then we'll be back next week to say, forget everything we said last week.
We lied. We know nothing.
But yeah, I think there's probably more chance of them getting a draw than there is the Saints winning. So
no.
I was looking at it. We made me laugh because I was looking at Riley Patterson's career to date. Just because I do find kickers interesting. Like, they must not know like where to go some mornings, because he's 25 years old and he's moved 9 times.
God. And
so
that's not even.
Yeah, he's played 13. He's played for like 13 stints. He's not played 13 different teams because he's been back to the same team twice sometimes. But he's moved 9 times and he's 25.
And that's not even an easy task over there. You could be talking moving 13 hours away from where you were previously.
He's been moved the same amount of times as 50 Cent got shot.
Anything not to count in the metric system, God's sake.
He started at Minnesota, then he went to New England, then Detroit, then Jacksonville, back to Detroit, to Cleveland, to Jacksonville, to Washington, to New York, to us, to Cleveland, to us.
He's had a nice little nice little tour, hasn't he?
My guy has got so many air miles.
Yeah.
And has so many service station loyalty cards that
he's probably done about 15 kicks in his career. Because he didn't even start for half of those teams.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
On average.
But again, this is what happens. You lose your kicker, you end up getting some, dregs of kicker, and listen, that's how we picked up Koo, right? Let's not get it twisted. And also, kickers don't tend to be amazing fresh out the box. But I mean, this dude's been around. But Mandem can probably
kick the ball for about a year and a half, though. Obviously not. I might clearly have, but not in an actual game.
That dude could literally just wait in the wings now for every team that get an injured kicker halfway through the season and go, listen, I can't make long kicks, but if you need somebody who can do a job, I'm your guy. Like that guy could legitimately end up with all 32 jerseys on his wall.
I hope he does.
He could be like the Ryan Fitzpatrick of kickers.
He is like that.
Cult hero. That's better.
I need to start losing some.
Than being a Hall of Famer.
I need to start losing some weight. I'm starting to look a little bit like Ryan Fitzpatrick myself.
Oh dear. Well, gents, we will call that time. Again, everyone, thank you for watching. We are completely uncertain as to whether this is our penultimate show of the season, because it really does all come down to next week. Based on Mark's face and Liam's earlier summary of how he thinks the games are going to go, next week will probably be our last show for a little while. But let's not count on that. You never know. Weirder things have happened. Not very often, but they have happened.
Sure.
As always, it has been a pleasure. Mark, where can they catch it back?
Guys, if you have not caught us before and you want to watch us back and see our beautiful, beautiful faces, then these videos are available on all of our social platforms at ATL Falcons UK. We are also we put the videos up on YouTube, so you can go back on YouTube and revisit all of the good stuff. Or if you're like me and you like listening to podcasts in the car, then we are available on all of your major podcasting platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast.
Oh my God, you just broke the sound barrier. That was crazy. Ladies and gents, it has been a pleasure.
It's going to get longer and longer.
I'm going to say, like,
you're
something that, like, I don't know where it can go.
You're just going to see me go pink one day, and I'm just going to just keel over.
The show will be
Imagine if we ever got to a Super Bowl, you'd have to get a new set of lungs to facilitate it.
My guy, if we ever got to a Super Bowl, you would have to scrape me off the floor.
Ridiculous. Ladies and gents, thank you once again. We will be back next week, hopefully with the 9-8 Falcons in the playoffs. But if not, we'll be here anyway. So we'll see you then.
Hopefully.